say that.
I mean, all. He won that
Everything.
That was it.
Everything. He's done everything. He's scored a lot.
The only thing that can cap off his career is becoming Mr. Basketball.
So why is it that when I watch LeBron Odom, I feel like he's a Mr. Every time I watch LeBron Odom play, I feel like I'm seeing something. Like I'm seeing something that I'm not gonna maybe not see again. Said that for a long time, DJ Boston was my favorite high school player in Georgia. I get that feeling that I'm seeing something I'll never see again.
It's the Love of the Game podcast, man. We in the building Thursday at the beginning of the NBA season. We finally got basketball officially, not the exhibition games that we've been glued to because we've been so desperate and thirsty for basketball that we would have watched anybody play. But we got real basketball. And we got some young guys out here cooking on the floor right now. We're going to talk about all of it. We're going to break down this Ross and 2 Chainz matchup coming up for Versus. We're going to talk about the anniversary of one of the greatest albums of all time. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, basketball and non-basketball related. And we got a great guy to come talk about it with us. But real quick,
an OG.
OG for sure. We have with us former Division I basketball assistant and current NBA scout, and also the host of the Unmasked podcast, Lamar Barrett. What's good, brother?
What's up, fellas, man? I'm glad to be back. I know it was a little different from last time, but happy to be back on. And as I told you guys, when you 5 miles back in the country, it's a little different to get a reception, but I'm happy to be back on here.
Hey, I know we good right now because I see that Unmasked pitch in the background. When I didn't see that last time, I said, "Oh, we're in trouble. We're in trouble."
For sure, it was a little shaky last time, Coach. Like Locke be saying, I got to watch your bandwidth, man. It was a little shaky. We're gonna get to it, man. We started asking. Well, first off, let NBA is back, right? We started off with
Hey man, don't even just get straight to it. Ask him that same question that Bryce was trying to ask me last week about the Wizards. Hey, you got an NBA scout sitting there. Ask him that.
We're gonna talk about the Wizards. First, I want to talk about the fact that we had a full protest at the beginning of our first NBA game, with all coaches and players participating. We have 0 positive coronavirus tests in the NBA bubble. I feel like both of those are almost monumental accomplishments, especially when we look at the struggles of Major League Baseball, the struggles of the NFL, the struggles of the NCAA, even for players on campus to not test positive. I feel like the NBA just got 2 huge things right, and I don't want to gloss over that. At the fact that they can be successful at something that others with a tremendous amount of resources are not successful with right now.
I would say, and I'm gonna say that, which is good. Like this is a huge, like you said, is a huge step because these guys sat down. They sat at the table not only with business people, but they sat down with the NBA Players Association. Chris Paul being the president, figured out how they could do this. So Chris Paul had a huge part to play in this. I don't think a lot of people will give him enough credit how they could get this off. And talk about the social injustices at the same time, as you mentioned at the beginning. I mean, that was just huge for those guys to come together. Their platform is a lot bigger, with them having games now, being able to talk about all the injustices going on in the world, and like you said, that's just a big plus. And they knew at the end of the day, like getting back to basketball, there's a lot of things that they had at stake, from an investment money and the testing and all of that is worth it if they have a chance to recoup almost $1.2 billion. That's a huge incentive to make sure everything goes right.
Lamar, let me ask you a question. Is that why the NBA agreed with Chris Paul and the Players Association to allow the social injustice piece? Do you think that played a part in it because they knew if they didn't, they were going to lose that money?
Oh, they definitely did. I mean, it was a huge part because it doesn't just affect this year; it affects the guys going forward. So, like, if they lose that, if they didn't play these games, and now you're talking about that, not only do they lose the money for this year, the TV money, but now they can tear up that CBA deal, the CBA deal with the owners, or the owners can tear it up. They start from scratch. So instead of it being 50-50, the owners can come to the table and say, we're not going 50-50 anymore. We're going to go 60-40. So now instead of, the Donovan Mitchells of the world who's supposed to get a 5-year deal for $160, now they're getting 5-year deals for $90 million. So that's a huge difference, man. Like, so the players put it on the line. This is what we want. This is what we need. The owners and the front offices. They did a tremendous job of making sure they came to agreement because all of them want to win at the end of the day.
I think so. I think we talked about this in other areas of the podcast, and I've said that in business, sometimes, but even though you can, sometimes you have to understand that maybe you shouldn't. Everything that you can do, sometimes you shouldn't do. I think the NBA does a good job of recognizing what they should do and what they shouldn't do when looking at players as partners. Am I wrong with thinking that the NBA is the only professional league that looks at their players almost as partners instead of using every piece of leverage and the upper hand that they get when they have the opportunity to do it?
You're not wrong. I agree with you 100%. I think that was something that when David Stern first came into the league, he understood. And as the league grew, it just became the players got more power just because of television. And then you saw like even the early 2010s, right when LeBron, after he came into the league, and he was starting to show other people like, we got more power than you guys think. It's not all about the owners all the time and with the decisions he made to leave Cleveland, or even thinking ahead of time. Like, we should get together, get a team. Don't sign this deal. Take a short deal. Like he's kind of showed people like, hey, this is a way that we can have control and we can have power. And so I think the management or ownership understands that, and they know that they have to have almost a partnership if this thing is going to be successful. I mean, you're going to come to the game for the superstars are huge in this league. And, if you don't have the superstars on board with the owners, it's going to be tough to be successful.
I think they've had to make some tough decisions along the way. I don't think removing Donald Sterling was as easy of a decision as some people think that it was. I think that was bold. I think it was game changing. I think it showed that before it was trendy to be progressive, the NBA was progressive, even at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, that wasn't because, what he was doing, how he was behaving has been going on for years. But I think, guys understand he was still putting the product that was going on the floor. It was not bad, especially the years with Blake Griffin and Chris Paul were together. They were starting to, people were starting to 10 games now. putting the product on the floor. And I just think it got to a point, like you're talking about, like it just got to a point that they could not. Once the players stepped in and said, we can't play for this guy anymore, or you have front office people saying we can't work for him anymore, I think it changed. And then when you have big businesses coming in saying we're going to pour those sponsorship dollars, it changes. That changes a lot in any sport. It becomes, if once corporation steps in, or once big businesses step in and want to pour their sponsorship money, it changes a lot of people's minds on what they should and should not do.
For sure. And to have other owners on board, like that's a tough thing to do, because I remember Mark Cuban specifically saying, now, hold on now. Well, what comes after this? If he can lose his team, what's the case for losing a team? But I think you kind of outline some of that other stuff. And I don't want to mess up nobody's check, but can Jim Dolan be next? Can we get Dolan up out the paint?
Hey, he just need to go. He just need to go for bad business decisions.
It's him and some other guys could possibly go, like, as well. He's not the only one, but he might be the one at the front of the line. And I'm sure you're not the only one in line on that, Dre. There's a whole lot of guys thinking like you.
Now, Dre, you do know, I always got to take it back to Atlanta. And to this last ownership group, we were in the last ownership group that went to court over Joe Johnson. It was bad, man. It was bad.
Hey, Huff, but you ride or die, man. Your fandom lasted a lot longer than mine did with New York. I was out of there.
Hey, I'm still behind it. I got my man here. I had to give y'all the stats on John Collins. 21-10 and almost 2 blocks. 50, 40, and 80. Come on, man. You're going to tell me only 4 spots behind Washington, they wouldn't be in the bubble.
Hey, Lamar, do me a favor, man. Tell this guy to cut it out with this Atlanta stuff. Like he's really like he believes that any minute the Atlanta Hawks are championship run material.
I did not say that.
They're really gonna do it.
I said they would be in the bubble if he didn't miss the first 25 games.
He got on his dad goggles for the Atlanta Hawks. talk him off the ledge, Coach.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say they would have been in the bubble. I still think they, being so young, they're missing this. Like, you have Vince Carter there, and I know they respect Vince Carter, but I still don't think you had enough older guys to kind of like push those guys along. They need some veteran leadership. I mean, they were young, talent, and you like young doesn't win in this league. It just don't win. It's hard. Would they would have been as good as Orlando? I mean, Orlando barely is getting in. They were like the 7th. They were the 7th seed, or would they be fighting Washington or someone like that? I can't say. And Washington was, without. I mean, at least they had a star player in Bradley Beal, but I just don't know if they would have. I mean, how many more games they win? 5 or 6 with him? I mean, and that's just, you got to go back. And I'm a big numbers guy. I'm a big advanced statistics guy. So you have to look at his wins per 48 minutes to see what that is. And that'll tell you how many more games they will win.
I looked that up too. And they would have. I wish Adam Hood was on there. He would give me the exact number.
Now, Adam could give you numbers based off of that. He not now advanced statistics and all that stuff. He's not winning that battle with me on that one. I can tell you that one.
Hey, but all serious, I agree, Lamar. They took a step back, not only because he missed those 25 games, but they missed leadership that they didn't have. They had to go back and get Dwayne Dedmon. They were missing veteran leadership. So when we talked about, man, they need to go ahead and draft whoever, that could help them, but all they would be doing is getting even younger than they already are. They really need to package some kind of piece of the youngness to get older, to be honest with you.
If you want to contend for just a playoff spot, because it's tough, man. Like look at Cleveland. Cleveland is another team. They're young. So, like, how do you – I mean, even though Kevin Love is there, like, Kevin Love was always a good player on a bad team. And the difference was with LeBron, he elevates as a not just as a player, but him being on the floor with superstar players like him and Kyrie. Now he's better at. People don't realize this. 26 and 15 on a bad team is not better than 15 or 16 and and 10 on a good team, especially if you're the third option, you got a chance to win a championship.
Hey, Lamar, you might need to say that for the people in the back, the high school players and parents. And like, I'm for real, man.
I want to talk about that other point that you brought up too, Lamar. Like you said that young teams don't win in the NBA. Young teams are what we typically gravitate towards and watch. Like we love to watch Phoenix because DB is over there. We love watching New Orleans even. They're a pretty young team. But I break it down for us. Why is it when young teams can win at every other level? You can have enough star power in high school to win with young teams. You can have enough star power. We've seen Duke, we've seen Kentucky win with really young teams at the college level. Why is it that you can win with young guys at every other level, but when it comes to the professional level, winning with young guys is just not the way to make it work?
One is a huge adjustment from going from college to the pros, and it's a learning curve. Like you have to have the ability from the game is a lot of times not just being physical, the physicality or physical, just being physical enough. It's from the neck up. A lot of those times, those guys understand. Like, I mean, you talk about guys who great early are the ones who understand the game, understand how you play the game at angles. When to when to play. Like everybody say, well, this guy plays hard all the time. That's not always. I mean, those guys don't have to play hard all the time. They play smart all the time. That's a bigger difference than playing hard all the time. And and I always say that like point guard is the toughest position to come into the NBA and play. Just because like every night you're going against someone with an IQ that's unbelievable. And so that's one thing, especially if you got a young point guard. But then when but then the other young guys just don't understand, how to play the game. They think they can play it the way they've always played it, but then it's played at a different level when they come to the NBA.
Do you think that the rule differences between high school, college, and the NBA are part of what causes that? Do you think having a shot clock in high school could help guys develop, or possibly the way that college game is played with halves instead of quarters? Any of the rule differences do you think play into the fact that why young guys will struggle to win so much in the league?
I don't know, because like now with college basketball being 30 seconds to 24, these guys play all the time in different programs, so they're playing with the 24-second shot clock then. Especially a lot of times in practices, coaches don't even use the full 30 seconds for practices. They just put 20 seconds on the clock and tell you to play anyway. When you're in college, they don't even, because most of the time in games when it comes to half-court sets, you're probably going to start your offense at 21, 22 seconds anyway. So I just know that everywhere I've ever been, when we did half-court things, we were always starting the shot clock at 20 seconds, 18 seconds, just so guys can learn how to play faster. And that's the adjustment of like when you go to the NBA, now the shot clock is starting at 16 or 18 seconds. And more like 17, 18 seconds, and you got to be able to run through your sets quickly. And you always notice that the ball, even if it gets to the second side, if you can ever get it to the second side in the NBA, and that's what young guys don't understand, getting it to the second side, being able to come off of ball screens, being able to read not the primary defender, but the secondary defender, or the guy who's in the help spot. That's what a lot of times guys don't understand, and they always get caught. We talk about like, just like when you are a young kid going from high school to college, defensively, they're always watching the ball. They get, they're turning their head, they're getting beat on back doors and things of that nature. So I don't think it's more of the shot clock. I think it's just the adjustment of knowing and learning how to play more than anything. And the thing is, like you talked about it, the speed of the game, it is faster. People don't realize it because the shot clock is lower. And you got to be able to get into your offense or get to the second side of the offense like real quick compared to being in college and even in high school.
Hey man, he's speaking real facts right there. We should have had him on the shot clock discussion. We should have had him. It kind of goes back to what Tim Kaine taught us about when Ja Morant went to Chris Paul's camp And Chris Paul told him, when you're playing against the ball screen, you don't have to worry about what they're doing. They're telling you got to be watching the second defender, the help side defenders, and all that.
Yeah, and that's what guys don't understand. Like, and if any young guys who get invited to that camp, I was at Chris Paul camp last summer. The time him and Steph Curry does an outstanding job too. But the amount of time that those guys spend working with guys, teaching them how to play the position, that's very valuable. And so, like last summer to see some of those guys that was at, and I went to both. I was at CP3 and I was at Steph Curry camp. Like watching those guys teaching these young guys the game, and they don't mind giving. Like the thing about it is, those guys show them tricks. This is what I've learned. I know how to come off the ball screen. I know when to snake. I know when it's snaky. I know that when the guy's having hedge or hard, how to split it. Like I'm playing the guy at angles. Like all that little stuff they're teaching these guys, man, and it's tremendous. And you see that when you see those guys go back to college for that 1 year after me, for watching them for just a week, it's amazing to watch some of those guys play, the things that they do from learning from those guys during the summertime.
Do you think the way the NBA teams practice is part of the problem or struggle with young guys? Do you feel like that they get it earlier? It seems like they get it okay going on offense, or at least some guys that are stars, they're able to kind of get it on offense and maybe struggle on the defensive end. Is the change in practice have anything to do with that? Because, I hear if you're on the same team with LeBron that you don't practice.
I just know that this was people, if they ever could get a chance to go to a practice, you'll be shocked at the amount of time. It's so many games, right? And so you don't get to practice normally like everyone else practices in college. Like in college, it becomes a routine. Everything becomes a habit. In the NBA, because you're playing 3-4 games in a week sometime, like they don't have a lot of times to go and actually have a practice. They're like more of you get in the gym, they shoot. You want to go watch an NBA practice, they don't miss jump shots in practices. They don't. They shoot so much. They shoot so much. That's why guys don't miss too many open shots in the NBA. They shoot all the time, constantly, in practice. So when they're going to practice during the season, it's more of talking about game planning, talking about the rotations, how you're going to defend ball screens, things of that nature. So you don't get a chance to practice those things a lot of times because you like the guys who are going to play who's in the rotation a lot of times are doing those things on the floor because you're getting ready for a game. And that's why like the days in between, like when they have a 3 or 4 day break, that's when they can pick up stuff and get on the floor and work. But those are very rare in the NBA.
It's funny you mentioned that, Lamar, because the last time the Final Four was in Houston, I drove to San Antonio one of the days to watch the Spurs practice. And Tim Duncan wasn't there. Manu wasn't there. But those young guys went there getting reps, putting up shots because that was the time they had. It's March, April, so that's late in the season. They're trying to get ready for the stretch run.
So with the break, and that's a good point. We ended up with a break in the season around March. Normally, those young guys will be like hitting a wall. Like this is their struggle point. There's no second playoff gear for them. Then they get this huge break. They get from mid-March or early March all the way to July. Is this basically like what we're playing out a second season? They're going to get 2 off seasons this year. They got the break that they got this time, and then a break again after, whatever happens in Orlando.
Yeah, I mean, for the younger guys, and that's why you saw some of the younger guys playing in the preseason games or those scrimmage games because you already know what your veteran guys can do. You're trying to get them ready for the playoff stretch, right? So play a lot of those younger guys doing these preseason games to see what they can do, see if they can help you, because all the stuff that you need to do or need to learn is all about making sure those guys are in the best of shape to get ready for this stretch run. Because, like you said, I mean, there's a race to trying to win a championship, and those guys are gonna have 7 or 8 games just to get themselves ready to get in the playoff mode. And so why not play some of the younger guys when they had the first 2 weeks of practice, the couple of 3 games of scrimmages, 3 or 4 games of scrimmages, play the young guys just to see what they can do, have your older guys rested and ready to go. But to saying that, like, they usually hit the wall in about January, February, and it takes them a while to recover because they're used to playing anywhere from 32 to 38 games in college. So by the time they get to that January mark, they're about at that mark, and then you don't have as much travel, and you have so much free time. Like in college, you're almost structured. I got to go to class. I got to go to the weight room. I'm eating at this time. But in the NBA, it's you practice for a couple hours, and then, you got so much free time. And it's no like you going to the dining hall to eat at this time or that time. It's you eat, when you want to. And sometimes it's not always great eating. Those guys were complaining about food down in Orlando because dudes used to eat chicken fingers or, chicken tenders and stuff like that.
Wings from Magic City.
Yeah, they don't want to eat a
catfish nuggets. What are you talking about?
they want a burger. They want to go to, and you in DC, they want to go to Ben's Chili Bowl to get them a burger or a hot dog. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that they do. So, not
Magic City.
Yeah, Magic City.
Hey, Lamar, that it's funny you mentioned that because, obviously Lloyd Pierce down here, he did a great thing during the pandemic, where he was getting coaches together of all levels the whole time during the pandemic. I don't know if you were able to jump on at any time, but he would also bring some of the Hawks players on there. I remember one of the first ones, he had Cam Reddish, and he was just like, I don't really know what to do right now. I'm just, I'm just chilling. Like, there's no routine for him. He was just kind of chilling. So,
no, I mean, and they don't know because, and if you don't have any veteran guys that's going to tell you, like, during the pandemic, like, no, you got to make sure you're doing this, and this, then they don't know what to do because, this is unprecedented. Like, this hasn't happened. Usually those guys are like right now, they're on vacation. Getting ready to get back into training camp in a month in September. So now this is the time most of those guys are, they've come, they've gone off on vacations or, they're working out, they're playing pickup, playing in pro-ams and things of that nature. But this is a little different where, they could have come back at any time. So you had to make sure you were staying in shape the whole time because you had no idea when they were going to come back. And then that's why I was saying last time, like, a lot of guys came back probably in better shape than some of the coaches thought just because they never knew when they were going to get back to playing.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm going to show my age a little bit here, Dre, so you can understand. Essence Fest used to go on all the time, and that was the time you would see the NBA guys and the NFL guys. Because that was their vacation time for it starting to get cleaned up again.
Gotta do work down there in New Orleans, dog. Gotta get the roadkill set up for next year. Yes, sir.
That's work too now.
Gotta have that set up for next year. So I want to know, Lamar, are there any guys that you're specifically looking at, whether it be young guys, or possibly maybe some G League guys that got called up? Any guys that you're specifically looking at that you feel like, okay, man, this break might have helped them. They were able to get to a good spot with their team and maybe able to contribute in the bubble.
Well, I mean, if you saw, like you mentioned it last time, like Bol adds another dimension to him if he can get on the floor. And the question is, like, is he going to be mentally ready to play in a playoff game? Can he play in a 9-man rotation? Because that rotation shortened when it comes to playoff time. Like, you're going to go with guys. And a lot of times you see these guys go with veteran guys because, once again, it goes to knowing how to play, knowing how to, if we're saying we're guarding this ball screen this way and you need to be in this help position, but all of a sudden you done blew the coverage. And it's some certain guys that you can look at all the time and you always like, why do they always have this bewildered look on their face? Because they have no clue of what they're doing out on the floor. Because you can't, like, that's the one thing everybody's like, well, why does LeBron yell at this guy and that guy? Because if you go over the coverages and this is what you're supposed to do, you can't blow those coverages in big games. You just can't. Because, like, people say, well, it's not always the last possession doesn't always kill you. Like, look at the possessions you've lost throughout the game that you could have been successful with. Blown coverage here, blown coverage there, sloppy turnover here, sloppy turnover there. Those add up. They cost you at the end of ball games a lot of times. And I don't think people understand that. Like, why is he going off on this guy in the first quarter? Because you can't be making that same mistake come fourth quarter either. So, but no, like you said, Bol is one that kind of stood out for me as a young guy. I was real impressed with him.
Can he really play at his size the style of game that he wants to play in the league consistently for years? Do we I feel like KD is the only person with his body type that I've seen play that way. Do we feel like Bol's body can really handle that style of play long term?
I think, but as long as Bol is getting stronger, I don't know how much he has to get bigger. And that's the thing about, if you notice when Kevin first came in, how thin he was. Now,
sure,
when you see Kevin up close, he looks a lot different. His body looks a lot different, especially when he first came in the league. Same thing with Reggie Miller for the longest time. Like, Reggie Miller was he was a skinny, thin kid, but if you see him up close and personal, he's a lot bigger than what you think he is. So those guys, as long as you're getting stronger, from a physical standpoint, now you're learning how to use your head to play a little smarter, like not let guys out physical you. How am I going to get around them instead of trying to go through them? I think that a lot of times can help a guy like him. He's just not, his body's not gonna, he's not gonna change. From a, physical standpoint. Now, his injury is gonna take a toll on him. It depends on how he takes care of his body at the same time.
Can't be going, man. You can't, Bobo. As much as you like them hot wings with the lemon pepper sprinkles, my guy, you're gonna have to skip those. You can send them to me. I got you. I'll take care of them.
Lamar, I'll tell you a guy who I know it's gonna be hard for him because who's in front of him, but the Edwards kid in Boston,
Carson
played
Edwards.
at Purdue. I got a chance to see him because he played on the same team with my guy, who I coached with the Maine Red Claws, so I got to see him a lot more before he got called up. I just know he's playing behind Kimba and Marcus Smart and all them guys, but I think that's a guy that maybe next year is the guy that comes into his own for somebody's team.
Nasty. Yeah. He's nasty.
No, it is. There's so many guys like them. Like, that's the thing about it is he's still learning how to play that position. Because even when he was at Purdue, you were basically running him off a lot of screens. He was their best scorer. So, now it is like, okay, can he run a team? Can we still get him shots? Because he can score the ball. Can we still get him shots and not being a primary facilitator at times? Because that's the big thing. Like, if he's going to be on the floor, like, do you just make Marcus Smart your primary facilitator, which is probably best, and have him be your secondary facilitator and let him be a scorer? Like, that's the things that, can he improve on those things, play to his strengths, and don't worry about his weaknesses? That's why a lot of times I talk to people, they always say, I'm like, yo, why would you change your, like, people always say, well, you need to do this to be a pro. Like, no, do what you do and play to that very well, because as soon as you try to change for someone else, they're going to say, well, that's not what he does. Like, that's not what he's good at. And then it hurts a lot of guys that way, especially like you need to become a point guard, but you've never been a point guard all your life. You've been a scorer from the point position. Like, be who you are.
I'm sorry. That just makes me wince. When you say he's trying to be a point guard, it just makes me wince because this is the season in AAU where every kid that's 6'4" is playing the point now because somebody told them that they were a point guard. I ain't hating, I ain't knocking, I ain't mad, I don't want to fight. Just, man, it's tough.
Hey,
I saw announcements.
You know what my saying is, Dre? Anybody can bring the ball up. That don't make you a point guard.
Facts.
That's totally true. Like, people don't even realize Russell Westbrook didn't play point guard at UCLA.
Exactly.
They drafted him as a point guard, and that's why he plays the way he do. And like, what people don't realize, they brought they brought him in. They brought him in to play with KD because they needed a guy who was just like KD from a work ethic standpoint that was going to push KD, and Russell Westbrook was that guy. Like, and they say, if we can get somebody that's going to match him, that wants to be in the gym all the time like KD, we can be good in Oklahoma City. And that's what happened. And that's what people don't realize. It wasn't like we got to make him a point guard or he's a two. No, he's a player, and we'll figure out where to put him. And if that's playing the point, he do that. But, I mean, that's what ended up happening. Like, Russell got drafted because he matched KD. That's what he did. You know, I mean, and that's what people don't understand a lot of times.
While we're talking about Oklahoma City, I got to shout them out because I'm going to be real. I thought acquiring Chris Paul was going to be an absolute disaster. I thought it, like, I didn't understand the trade. Like, I thought it was going to be the worst thing ever. You lose James Harden, KD, and Westbrook, you're going to be trashed for life. And they're not trash. They're not.
You don't realize it, man. People don't realize how great Chris Paul is. They don't. Like, this what people don't. And I say this, you can take two guys in the NBA, and I've said it for the last 15 years. I'm going to say the last 15 years. You can take two guys in the NBA, and you can put them with almost anyone, and their teams are going to be successful. And they're best of friends, LeBron James and Chris Paul. It don't matter. Like, those guys, I mean, if LeBron doesn't get hurt and whatever, last year, that Lakers team is going to make the playoffs. You know, this just happened. Like, those guys have a way of, they're just infectious, and they make guys around like, well, you didn't make this guy better. He didn't make that guy better. No, you don't have to go better by numbers. It's the work ethic they put in, how they play. They got a winning mentality, and that's what I don't think understand. Like, I was there when Chris Paul, when it went down, when it was down. I'm at his camp. OKC people came in, talked to him. Chris was fine. Chris was like, I'm good. Like, he didn't get caught up in, I want to be traded and that stuff. I'm just dealing with what was dealt me. He didn't pout at all. And he went in, he's like, you know what? We're going to be good. And he went and proved it. Like, he's going to end up making one of the top, he's going to be an all-NBA guy this year at 34, 35 years old as a point guard. That don't usually happen.
It's incredible. What is happening?
And Lamar, I think he got a bad rap in Houston because that wasn't his style of play. That wasn't what he was used to playing like.
No.
And I remember when he got to Houston, I said, that's not going to work. I don't think that's not how he plays the game. He plays the game the right way. And I know some people the other way Houston plays, but I just don't know if that's going to win you a title.
One thing too, and I don't want to skip over this. Do we owe some flowers to Billy Donovan as well?
But Billy got you know what he did though? Billy got a chance to coach this year. Like, it's kind of hard. Right. Like, Russell Westbrook is different, man. Like, he's different. And Russ, as much as like he plays extremely hard, he does all it's like Allen Iverson. Those guys are hard to coach because they do compete so hard when they play, and they put everything out on the floor, but they still want to do stuff their way, and it's not always best for the team at times. So, that's what a lot of times, like, I'm a huge AI fan. Like, one of the guys that it was three guys in the last 25 years that I had to watch every night. That was LeBron, that was Mike, and that was AI. Those are three guys that I had to watch every night just because you never knew what they were going to do. But, like, Russ and him, they're similar because they do go, they put everything into it. They play hard every play. But it's different. It's difficult playing with them, and it's hard to coach them.
That's tough. You really can't coach an NBA player if he doesn't want you to, because at the end of the day, he can get you out of there, right? Like,
they make more money than you, player.
It's a player. Exactly.
We gotta keep it a buck now. Magic Johnson got rid of Westfall now.
Well, and that's a good point, Huff, because again, we came up in an era. I always talk about how I came up in an era where black coaches were giants in college. We came up, John Thompson, John Chaney, Nolan Richardson. Those guys were larger than life, right? But we also grew up in an NBA that had some coaches that were kind of untouchable. I don't know that you could really touch, Pat Riley or Coach Daly. Like, I don't know if you could really touch those guys. What they said was what they said. Outside of Pop, do we have any coaches that are untouchable? I mean, I used to think that about Doc Rivers, and then something happened in Boston where things didn't work out right. Do we have any other coaches other than Pop that are untouchable, in this NBA?
I would say Rick Carlisle, and that's why he's been in Dallas so long. I think him, like he's been like, I know what happened to him early when he was in, when he was in Detroit and he was let go, and then then he ended up going to Indiana. But like, it's just something about him being in Dallas that they love him. Like, I think he's one of the top 3 or 4 coaches in the NBA. I think Rick Carlisle does a tremendous job, and I think Mark Cuban loves him. The guys love him there. I think he's kind of untouchable. He's a brilliant basketball mind. If you ever get a chance to listen to him or talk to him, he's unbelievable. So I think he's one of them just because, that one championship in Dallas means a lot more than some guys winning 3 or 4 championships.
For sure.
And he has a way of his players loving to play for him. Like they love playing for him. And I don't think, Mark Cuban doesn't let him go. Like, he had Avery Johnson there who lost the championship and then and let Avery go. And but Rick
after winning Coach of the Year.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I
would say he would be the one. Steve Kerr right now, just because what they did in Golden State, I think he can choose when to walk away. I don't think they would like fire him. I think what he's done at Golden State, I would say him. He's another one. But it's not too many that you can actually name that you would say, that guy's kind of safe.
I might add Coach Spo to that list. I don't know that anybody.
I don't know if you're going to add him to that list. And here's why I say that. I read the article about what him and Pat Riley doing, what they do with the guys when they get there. But it also means that certain guys know they can't go there and play. Because the body fat, you got to have a certain amount of body fat to play for them. They really practice. Like, that's one of the NBA teams that really practice. So there's certain NBA guys that say, no, I'm not going to play in Miami.
That's why Jimmy Butler works.
Yeah.
That's why he works in Miami.
That's true. You're right.
I think I would love to see, John Beilein got ran out of the NBA so fast.
Hey, before you could blink, right?
And you could say the same about every coach that coached at Chicago the last few years. I can't even keep up with who's coaching in Chicago nowadays. They run them out of town so fast over there. And shout out to Zach LaVine, free my boy, free Zach. Free Bradley Beal, free all my dogs until they can play for real teams. I'm looking for Bryce. I feel like he's gonna jump.
He's gonna pop up.
But that's a very sensitive thing. Phil Jackson got the opportunity to coach some greats, but as we saw from the Michael Jordan doc, they allowed him to coach them. They accepted what was coming from Tex Winters in regards to the triangle. They allowed Phil to be that coach. Is it a trust thing now? Have we put so much pressure on some of these guys to win championships that they've decided that, you know what, I'm gonna just take this into my own hands? Because I feel like LeBron is in this space where he's never played for like that Hall of Fame coach like every other great. Is that gonna be the new normal for these guys coming up, or are we gonna continue to see some of these coaches establish themselves as all-time greats the way they used to?
All-time greats become like how many championships you're going to win. And like, you know, like when you start looking at young teams now, is it going to be like once LeBron leaves, like who's going to be that dominant team? Especially like you don't have, unless they go back to the, you know, everybody want to say super team. Like, I mean, the Lakers was a super team back in the 80s. Celtics was a super team. But like, unless you're going back to that, like, how many guys are going to run off championships, you know, like constantly or be competing for those championships? I mean, you're looking at it like, I mean, Giannis is going to have a small window eventually. You know, who's going to be, you know, like, you know, I don't know how much longer Pop has to coach. I wouldn't say it's that much longer, but like, who is going to be? Like, you got to look at, you know, what teams or who decides to get together in the near future that you can say that's going to be a great, you know, going to be a great Hall of Fame coach. And that's my whole thing is like, I don't know, can Spo be one? I mean, you know, you talked about Spo, like, but, you know, before LeBron, after LeBron, I mean, Spo hasn't been like, you know, setting the world on fire.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, you still got to have players, man, to win championships. You know, the best thing that happened to Mike and them was the triangle offense. It taught him how to, I mean, he already knew how to play and he was talented. Same thing with Kobe. I don't know if you ever heard the story when John Sally talked about, you know, when in 98, when they lost, matter of fact, it was 99, when the Lakers lost, and it might have been the Spurs, with Shaq and Kobe, they lost, they got swept in the playoffs. And, you know, John Sally said to Phil, like, are you going to allow those guys to not be able to win championships? And Phil was like, no, I mean, what do you mean? He's like, you're not going to coach those guys. Like, they need coaching. If you can coach those guys, they're going to win championships. And Phil was like, you must know something I don't know. And he was like, no, I don't. He said, well, I just took the job. He ended up taking the job. And John Sally basically said, well, if you need help, I can come along and help them, you know, show them how the triangle offense and that type of nature. But Phil knew he was smart. Like, he sat out that year, 98, 99. And he realized, like, man, if I can coach Shaq and Kobe, I'm going to win more championships. He was smart on that end, you know. So
I think too, more NBA. Do we have NBA front offices and coaches who are able to take risks like Phil took with Dennis Rodman? Like, people talk about Dennis Rodman going to the Bulls, but nobody talks about. Do you know who he got traded for, Dre?
Who did he get traded for?
Will Perdue.
They got an all-NBA player for Will Perdue.
They did. But Phil called Chuck Daly and said, is it worth us taking a chance on him?
See, I agree with that because we all know what Dennis is as a player.
But only certain people can coach. But only certain people can coach him.
Right, and he had Bob Hill in San Antonio.
Oh my God!
Those San Antonio years, like Dennis Rodman was MVP. Playing alongside Dennis Rodman. I mean, David Robinson was MVP, man.
Yep.
Playing alongside Dennis Rodman, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not gonna get back to that discussion because Lamar, we're not gonna get back to that discussion either about David Robinson being number 3. They don't believe me on that, but
woo. David Robinson being number 3 in what?
In the modern era, Lamar's with me. Yep.
Where are we cutting off the modern era? Y'all really putting David Robinson over Patrick Ewing?
Yes.
Go look at.
Patrick Ewing doesn't have an MVP. Patrick Ewing does not have an MVP.
Go look at the numbers.
All right, bro. David Robinson doesn't have a shoe.
Man, just because you got a shoe don't mean you break it, man. Come on, man.
Stop disrespecting Pat, bro.
Patrick Ewing didn't have a nickname either. You had the Admiral. You remember that?
The Admiral. There you go.
Coach, that's right. They disrespected Dennis Rodman. They disrespected Pat Ewing on here, bro.
No, you disrespecting David Robinson. He's a guy that goes to Navy, and they say, you know what? You ain't got to do your time. Come on to the NBA right now.
What nobody scared of David Robinson, bro. He didn't put fear in nobody's heart at all.
That man scored 70 points in the game.
We were scared of the big fundamental.
71 points in the game, bro.
But that was towards the end of Davis' career, though. Like when they won in '99, I mean, he was already, that was towards the end. I mean, that wasn't.
And he knew when to get out before he became Patrick in Seattle or Orlando or whatever.
Hey, Pat, we need you on the show, brother. I'm here trying to defend your honor all on my own, man. Pat, we need you on the show, bro. Holla at me. We'll get you on. We'll talk about it since you back at Georgetown, man. Disrespect. I want to see Pat and David play one-on-one right now, as a matter of fact.
I don't think he wants to see an album.
One-on-one on the post. Hey Bryce, we was about to talk about your Wizards, man. You down?
His poll didn't go the way he wanted it to go on Twitter.
Whoa. My poll, I lost the last second poll by 1 vote. And the percentage was 51 to 49%. So 1 vote.
So you take more victory. That's what I learned.
What I'm saying is, like, and
tired and went over and voted, Bryce.
Oh, listen what I'm saying. So, like, in statistics class, if it's like what 5% less or more, then you can say that.
Man, you sound like Trump right now, man. I'm not listening to you, man.
So look, here's the thing. So like, if I lost the vote like 50% to 30%, saying that 30% that the Wizards would get that 4th seed, then I say, okay, the people have said that it's not going to happen, but it didn't happen. It was 50 to 49. It really would have been a runoff. You know what I'm saying?
Let's get the listeners up to speed. Bryce is for the Washington Wizards or anything Washington in the same way that Huff is for anything Atlanta. They are both just as delusional as the other, but Huff like to pick at Bryce, like he's not delusional too.
The thing about it is, okay, I'm delusional in the sense that, yeah, we don't win too much, but we do have 2 like really good certified, maybe perennial kind of like dudes, proven dudes. And when they healthy and they playing together,
they are 7th, 8th seed.
That's true.
That's true.
That's tough.
Yeah, I don't think, to be honest, I don't think John and Bradley fit well together. That's just my opinion. I think a lot of times John.
Okay, let's get into it.
I think John he gets to the point that he takes way too many shots. Well, you got a guy like Bradley Beal on the floor. And then when Otto Porter was with them, who was a knockdown shooter.
I love Otto Porter.
One of the top 3-and-D guys in the league.
Yeah.
Otto Porter would hit 3 or 4 threes, and John would forget about it. It made no sense whatsoever.
Otto Porter was definitely a player, a piece that we need for sure. Yeah.
Now y'all had Otto Porter and Oubre, and neither one of them on y'all team no more.
Yeah.
But it's that's another one. Like, it's great. Well, I would say, as good as John is, he is upper echelon point guard in the league. You like, there's times that you gotta. That's why I say he doesn't have the best of feel a lot of times in the league, when to get guys shots, when he can get his own shot.
I agree with that whole point. I agree with everything you said. My argument was based off more so that the East is not as good, I don't think, and if they're healthy, that they can make a run.
Hey, let's get specific.
I agree that our roster is not perfect. I agree that John Wall is a little selfish. You know what I mean? I agree with everything you said.
Let's get in some detail. We argue, right, that Washington, even with a healthy John Wall and Bradley Beal, let's say they come back and John Wall is 100%. He's the same John Wall we always been seeing. Okay, we agreed that they're not better than Milwaukee.
Okay,
all agreed on that.
They're not better than Toronto.
That's 2.
I think we all agreed on that.
Okay,
they're not better than Boston.
I don't know.
I need LB to hop in some of these teams.
I don't believe in Boston. Boston still can't protect the rim to me. I'm not
Just because you don't believe in them don't mean they're not better than them.
And they protect the rim.
I think the
They have
Wizards
75
games though. That's my thing.
They have 75 threes on the roster. Who's gonna protect the rim?
Brad Stevens does a great job of putting those guys in position to be successful. I know you talk about the front of like the rim, but like he does a great job. Like Marcus Smart might be his best shot blocker. Like he's in the right position at times. Like he just knows. Like they have come up with the right schemes and things like that to be able to protect the rim at times. And in the East, how many do you really like? The biggest problem they have, Boston have, is when they match up against the 76ers. That's their biggest problem because they don't have anyone that can stop Joel Embiid. That's their biggest issue.
But they had all of those draft picks and they had all of that talent, and they said that Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge were geniuses, and we lumped all of these praise on them, and we ended up with this roster.
That's 43-21.
That you have two of the best assets on the roster are Jaylen Brown and my man, and they play the same way. They play the exact same position, the exact same way, and then you add Gordon Hayward on top of that.
But Jason Tatum is, I mean, Jason Tatum one of the top 12 guys in the NBA. Like right now,
I agree.
Like Jason Tatum is really good.
He's
so
nice.
Like, you have to have him, and Jaylen Brown, like as good as he is, he has a chance to be really good. Like, I mean, that's one of those ones, like, he's only been in the league. I mean, he's young, but, like, his upside is tremendous. He's still one of the guys who's right there, fringe NBA All-Star guy. And
can't either one of those guys reach their potential playing with each other?
Correct.
So, are we giving him above the Wizards? We're giving him above the Wizards.
Yes.
I don't like the
Wizards. They're still above the
Wizards. You're talking about Toronto, Philly, Boston, and when New Jersey comes back, that's another one.
4.
The Knicks.
So we on the pick.
Is Washington better than Indiana?
No, they're not.
That's what we split.
Milwaukee.
I told you they're 7th or 8th, right? I got somebody.
So where the Hawks? They don't leave nothing for the Hawks.
They got a couple more years. They got a couple if they stay together. They got to get some veterans. Hawks got to get some veterans.
Which is what I said.
No bubble.
No, I said of John Collins. Now I'm not going back on that. If Washington was only 4 games better than the Hawks. Only 4 games better than the Hawks.
That was without John Wall.
You just asked me would they have been in the bubble this year had he played those 25 games. I think that's a 4-game difference there. I think.
I just look at it like if you get them dudes healthy and clicking, and you get them in the playoff series.
Have they clicked? Have they ever clicked? I don't think they've ever clicked, to be honest.
They had that Boston series. They blew that Boston series. That was their best chance.
Sometimes, and you know this, sometimes your window passes. That might have been their window. Ask Dominique Wilkins. When he blew it, they blew it versus Boston. That was the window.
I'm just going to say again, free Bradley Beal, free Zach LaVine, free De'Aaron Fox while we at it. Free my boy De'Aaron Fox.
Love De'Aaron Fox.
Why we playing like Spencer Dinwiddie doesn't deserve to be playing with Kyrie. Free my boy Spencer Dinwiddie. Free all my guys, man.
You freeing Devin Booker too? You freeing Devin Booker too?
Huh?
Oh yeah, we got to free Devin Booker.
Hell no. Devin Booker love that shit, man. Keep him over there. He love that. He want to be over there shooting up all the balls. Like he love that shit. If I didn't think he really liked it, I would say free Devin Booker too. But I think Spencer Dinwiddie, Zach LaVine, and Bradley Beal deserve to be free. They paid. I'm
gonna ask you this though: Is Zach LaVine gonna be as good as he is, being a third option on the team?
It goes back to what you said, Lamar. 26 and 15 on a bad team.
Like, I mean, is he gonna be Jordan Clarkson?
Ooh.
On a good team. on a good team.
Yeah, I know. Don't make me think about that though. But I know what you're saying. Don't make me think about that though. I love Zach. Zach, don't go out like that. Don't do it. I do feel like though your boy Kobe White showed me some stuff that I wasn't expecting to see. And maybe if they can figure out their coaching situation over there in Chicago, maybe you get another draft pick that pans out. I mean, that's a nice one. Kobe White did a lot better than what I thought.
He actually had a great year. I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. You saw him in Carolina. But the one thing he can do, man, like he can shoot the basketball. Like, and that wasn't like the biggest. I mean, you talked about his speed when he was in college, but like now, I mean, his ability to score the basketball puts him at another level. You know, like I'm blown away. I mean, like I said, he had a great and I mean, he worked.
Lamar, I think we losing you a little bit, man. Bryce hogging up your bandwidth.
I'm going.
I'm about to go. I'm about to go. I got to get ready to go anyway.
We was gonna blame that on you, B.
I'm about to go anyway. I just wanted to pop in there and talk my shit for a minute. You know what I'm saying? But I can log off.
Where y'all playing at this weekend, Bryce? Y'all off this weekend?
Nah, we playing in Alabama and Hoover at Hoop Scene. It's really hard to get in events nowadays.
So I heard.
Hey man, you sound like.
Hey, Bryce sound like he really sad about it too.
Nah, I mean,
it's hard to get an event these days.
I'm used to driving to McKeeshan and rolling out my bed, and I feel like I'm back coaching.
Now you gotta stay in a hotel, don't you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm back doing 8th grade AAU again. For a minute I was chilling, come back to the house. Still have my whole weekend.
Just racking up offers easy, man. Wouldn't have to hit the road for it. No team dinners on the road. No, nothing. Just
you got to plan outings and stuff now, don't you?
Huh?
You got to plan outings and stuff now, don't you?
Nah, man. These niggas. Excuse me. These dudes. One of the kids was like, so like, we hanging out? I'm like, bro, where you want to go? Buffalo Wild Wings? Like, where you want me to take you?
That's a good mall in Hoover. You can go to the mall, man.
Hey, there is a Magic City in Alabama, in Birmingham.
I have my mask on. Just know that I got my Georgia Canes.
Hey,
if you see me on my Lou Will.
I don't know if they got wings though, Bryce. It is Birmingham. I don't know if they got wings.
Yeah, I ain't
gonna just don't become the Miami Marlins, man. Just don't become the Marlins.
I keep my mask on.
You heard what they said. You heard what really happened to them, right?
Nah, I didn't.
The story goes they played their 2 exhibition games in Atlanta, and that night they were out on the town.
But the thing is, you can still. Nah, I ain't gonna say that. But if you out, you should at least be trying to rock the mask. You know what I'm saying? Like, just try to rock the mask, bro, because you don't even know where people been. You don't know who they.
So you out in these streets, Bryce?
You know what? I actually did step out last week for a birthday. I had to go to a birthday, but it was outside though. I was outside. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. Atlanta is open.
It should not be though. It should not be.
It is fully.
Listen, Buckhead felt like Buckhead back when the snowman was running around the streets and everybody else and people was out.
Man, no. I'm not going. Hey, bro. Don't compare that.
People was out. I'm just saying.
They were out, but don't compare Buckhead to back what Buckhead used to be.
Okay. Nah, I'm not compared to that, but I'm just saying, like, people was in that area, like that little corner of Buckhead in the middle.
Yeah.
Shit, hey,
Hey, Georgia has said COVID who it does not exist here. We do not believe you.
hey, they was out,
I
and
mean,
they was like,
department that
you-
hospitalizations and deaths are up, but
they was like, you want to try this hookah? I'm like, oh no, nah. Hey,
are you supposed to bring your own tip for the hookah?
nah,
bro?
but that ain't enough. That little tip, that ain't stopping it. That ain't stopping the COVID. No, hell no, I don't want that. Don't pass me no hookah, bro. Don't pass me nothing. Nothing.
Hey, they got hookah in the bubble. Is there hookah in the bubble?
And who's the NBA bubble?
Yeah, ain't no hookah in the bubble. Can't be.
I don't know, man. Hookah makes your head hurt anyway.
Hey, I don't know. It might be. They might keep it all in the bubble.
That bubble by about 2 weeks, it's gonna be a lot of things in that bubble, probably. By about August 15th.
Hey, don't worry. Hey, it will hit the gram. It will hit the gram. Somebody.
The thing about it, man. These folks gotta keep their phones in their pocket, man. Like,
oh man, she's gonna take a bathroom selfie, and we're gonna be able to figure out, like on the documentary, Don't Mess with Cats. We're gonna be able to take stuff in the background of the video.
You've been always the girls, be the dudes too. Like,
That's who got Lou Will. It wasn't a female. It was
hey, can we talk about how that man Jack Harlow gotta be the worst wingman in the history of wingman ever?
hey, but that song though he dropped,
bro.
Yeah, he wild. He should have never posted. He shouldn't have posted nothing.
Never.
And then he tried to delete it. Then he'll try to delete it.
Yeah, like you got a job.
But he snapped on that song though. You can't tell me otherwise. Sheesh.
Oh, that's facts.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Bryce, when you got more time, we're gonna have to talk about that Gunna Deluxe that came out, because that was giving out work.
I got 2 hours of road trip to get my catch up on my music, so I'm gonna be back on. You know what? I'm not a big. I like J. Cole, but he ain't always my first option. Like, I ain't about to just listen to J. Cole unless I'm feeling a certain type of way. Just be honest.
That new Cole snap though.
I know. I mean, he's nice, but I'm just saying, like, he's on a different. Like,
Right.
I got to be in that.
Bryce, you listen to Riding Dirty, man?
Riding Dirty.
Oh, dang.
Man.
Hey, dog.
You talking about what? Huh?
UGK Riding Dirty.
You know what the crazy thing is? You know what the crazy thing is? Like, this might sound crazy, but what year that come out?
96.
96.
So that'll tell you right there.
Today is the anniversary.
I really ain't. I'm not too familiar with that joint. Honestly, I can't even. I'm not even cap. No, I can't even cap. I ain't heard that.
Today, so I want to get our listeners up to speed though. Today is the 15th anniversary of one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, UGK's Riding Dirty.
One day you're here, baby, and then you're gone.
There are so many joints, so many records on this album.
Murder
is my hey, bro.
Murder.
Pimp C, bitch. Hey. Why am I playing this 2 Chainz song?
But in the 2 Chainz, I don't think he know what he up against.
Hey, so look, man, I went through for the versus battle. And I'm gonna roll back to UGK. I don't want disrespect. I went through the 2 Chainz records. 2 Chainz, he's gonna have to play a lot of features, bro. Like, he's gonna have to play a lot of features to keep up with Ross. Like,
I don't think people understand. Like, I'm saying, like, yeah, 2 Chainz has super hits, right? He has like huge hits.
I mean, Duffel Bad Boys is gonna go.
Yeah, but it's beatable though.
I'm different. It's gonna go,
but it's beatable.
Yeah, it is. Even like
Snoop had songs that were just like, nah, bro, you just can't beat that.
That no matter what you play.
What about if 2 Chainz play Crack? That ain't gonna.
Bruh, Rick Ross has shit.
I'm just asking.
I went like
birthday song
against another rapper. Yeah, like even like
I love strippers.
Watch Out Little Bitch. Like even that would beat somebody else.
It's gonna be hard to Ross. Yeah, bro. I think this Ross, right? And then Ross production and his beats in his like, man.
But when you get to 2 Chainz and the features, right? Like he got Drake features, he got Ariana Grande, he got Lil Wayne. Like he's gonna have to go, you know, multiple Drake.
He gotta go features because Ross got features. Like to me, Aston Martin music is unbeatable.
You're not beating it, bro.
You're not beating that.
Luxury Tax. You're not beating that. It's nothing that you can play.
Like Maybach music, you probably not beating that.
You can't beat Santorini Grease.
You can't beat it.
You're not beating that song, bro.
And like, it's just a different vibe. It's gonna be tough.
It's tough, bro. I hate that for Chainz because it's gonna. His Chainz's catalog is so dope and it's so good, but like Ross though, it's like that's another level.
He has a serious fan club that are gonna support him regardless. But I think people would like Rick Ross, bro. He just like he's on a whole nother
level. If Chainz goes feature heavy though, it will be a situation where Ross gotta be careful what he plays because 2 Chainz got huge.
I'm definitely interested to see how both of them start. And what both of them start out with, you know what I mean? Like, because Ross got some, like Ross can go Ross and T-Pain. Hey, you ain't beating
it. We got time to talk about that, man. Stop.
You ain't beating it.
Hands up right now. We talk about
Ross
on Sunday.
I got the UGK.
8Ball, MJG, or UGK? That's what I see in the comments down there. Who you taking?
UGK.
8Ball, man. 8Ball.
Yeah, I'm taking 8Ball, MJG, man.
UGK though,
man. Dre,
you have a record with Jay-Z.
I don't care. Just because you make a record with Jay-Z don't mean I'm taking
you can't use that. Use that with DMX, and y'all didn't give me the point.
They got Big Pimpin'. They got the records that they did with 3 6 Mafia. Like I'm taking UGK, bro. And I love 8Ball and MJG. I mean, all the way back to Coming Out Hard. Like that's an album that I still play.
Mr. Big, Mr. Big. They call him Mr. Big.
I love it, but Pimp C, dog. That's the equalizer to me. And that Pimp C's the
lay it down.
Pimp C, dog. Pimp C. He gonna go back and play kick door, pull a kick door. What do you break him off something? It's gonna get ugly. It's gonna get ugly when that come on, dog. It's gonna get ugly. I'm rolling with UGK. Although I don't want to see rappers from the South go against each other in these verses. Like I love the regional, like I love the contrast between Snoop and DMX. I thought that was perfect. Get 2 guys from different regions and really let them go at it. Like I don't, seeing a guy from the South, like seeing Chainz and Ross, that feels like black on black crime to me. Like I don't want to watch that.
We could have watched somebody like we could have been Ross and somebody else from New York or something. You're right.
Like, I needed to like Ross and I don't even know anybody's name.
Yeah, 50.
Yeah, Ross and 50. That would have been good.
I would have liked to see that.
I
still trying to get 50 to come to do it.
I think Ross.
I would like T.I. and 50.
I think Ross makes 50 look bad.
Ross
50 can go back and play.
He's never had a bad song.
Nah, Ross different.
What you say, Lamar?
Ross has never had a bad song. I can't find one.
The production level is so good.
The production is like next level. Like he floats on these beats like no other.
Every song sounds luxurious. I
don't think 50 doing against anybody. You got me the other night, Dre, when he played Maybach music, I don't know what's gonna happen.
What are you gonna play, bro? Like
this man got stuff off deeper than rap. You can't beat.
Like he got B-sides. He got B-sides that won't even play. Like he will never play War Ready in this matchup, right? Of 20 songs, War Ready was never gonna make the cut. But it's him and Jeezy. When War Ready comes on, bro, like y'all don't want to fight somebody. I kind of want to fight somebody when that song comes on, bro. Like, what are you gonna play, bro? Like,
I think Ross got at least 10 joints that he can play that you can't beat. And that's
He
just
can go 40.
that's without even looking.
He can go 40 records.
Yeah.
He can go 40 records. Nobody wants to smoke with Outkast. They still talking about getting the entire Wu-Tang just to take on Outkast. Bro. You got 37 members of the Wu-Tang to take on Outkast.
Lamar has something to say.
I gotta say that we have a rap Zoom on Monday nights, and that's gonna be the discussion. Outkast versus Wu-Tang. Even though I have Outkast as the third best group ever behind Wu and Tribe Called Quest, I respect Outkast. I love Outkast.
It is 47 members of Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot of them, bro.
And my thing is, can Wu-Tang really match up with Outkast fairly because of the contrast of the music styles? Like,
I would love to.
it might sound crazy, but I mean, like, it's just two different sounds. Like, I don't know.
For verses, you might be right.
Outkast would beat them in the verses, though. Outkast would beat them in the verses.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
That's why I would probably have to be Tribe Called Quest for a verses to.
Well, just because, like, you got songs that's not even like really a rap song. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, hey y'all. I mean, that's not even a song.
Yeah, that's not even a song, right? But that joint go hard though.
It's gonna be
That's
tough.
what I'm saying. You're right.
Cass is tough. You just can't let Andre 3000 pick the songs for the verses. You can't let him pick because he gonna pick some shit that's gonna be
rolling. He gonna pick rolling.
yeah. Can't let him pick the music.
But here's the other part though. If you don't have them both in there together, Big Boy might pick some stuff too that he's just trying to get himself off.
I want to see and I want to see Diddy versus like Jermaine Dupri.
Ooh.
That is pretty good.
Hey,
Drake will beat Jay-Z. I don't know about that.
Hey, so they were arguing Pac versus Big.
That's not even close. Listen, like I'm a Pac is different, but Biggie's flow, rhyme.
Stop it.
I'm telling you, man. It's unbelievable.
He went diamond, bro. He went diamond. Have you listened to Ambitions of a Writer lately?
Listen, I love Pac, right? But you listen.
You can be rolling in the front.
From a flow style. He got lines for days. He got some bars.
Pac plays Hit 'Em Up. What are you playing? What are you playing when Pac plays Hit 'Em Up?
I mean, didn't he come right back at him?
You're gonna play Who Shot You against Hit 'Em Up? I wouldn't.
Listen to Who Shot You. Listen to
you gotta listen to Who Shot You.
You need to listen to the lyrics. And
I'm talking about on a versus battle though, man. I'm gonna let y'all have that because I don't want to disrespect Big.
Somebody actually put that together. They put Pac versus Big. I'm gonna send it to you because I definitely have it. And
I love it. I want to see it as a celebration. Like
15-5. It was like 15-5 Biggie.
Who scored that?
I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna definitely send it to you. Like you gonna. It was crazy because when you start matching up the songs, you like, okay, wow. I mean, like Hypnotized versus some songs, like it's a little different, man. Biggie a little different. More than you.
I think I want to score that live because I think where you are from, it plays a lot into that. But I'm gonna be honest, I wouldn't even want to score that. I just want to celebrate those two artists because they deserve it.
Right.
Like,
right. I don't care where you from. I don't care where you from. When Hypnotized come on.
Yeah. Pac
has 6 songs. Like when Hypnotized comes on, but when California Love comes on.
Well, we got that compared too.
California Love.
Hey, Cali versus California Love.
I'm
going back to Cali.
I don't think that's even close. Dog. Like but it's all good though. I would love to see it, man. I don't want to disrespect Big. I love Big. I hate that, bro. We talking about two brothers whose life ended at what, 24?
Yeah,
They weren't even at
9 months apart from each other, right?
they weren't even at the peak of their power, bro. Both of them had just released double albums. They weren't even at the peak of their power and got taken away from us, man. To me, that's the sad part about what we could have had musically from those two dudes. Like,
But then
it's a whole lot of
other guys that would. It might be some other guys that may not be mentioned to this day.
Probably.
Because
Hey, we may not get Jay-Z the billionaire if Big and Pac is still alive.
I agree with that.
But Jay-Z still, nice though. Jay-Z was still Jay-Z.
He was little brother though to those two guys.
Yeah.
Like I feel like even Jay would say that.
But when Nas came out in '94, like Jay-Z wasn't on that level. That don't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of the best albums of all time. It was just because it was different. Better than Reasonable Doubt. Like,
Big,
I mean, just that's tough.
I think when Big jumped on Brooklyn's Finest with Jay, that I can't say, I'm not from up there, but to me, I know it changed my perception. As a kid from Kentucky, it changed my perception of Jay-Z when I heard Biggie on Brooklyn's Finest with Jay-Z. It made me look at him different. Like, because Pac was on his head, bro. And I was like, man, you know, I'm not even going to listen to this dude. But that record made me like, okay, I got to go back and listen to Reasonable Doubt now. Nope. Oh, boy, I know Mobb Deep was so happy when Pac was out of here, bro.
Hey, man.
Were they not? Were they not? Am I the only one that remembers that? All right.
Hey, man, you do, like, you're going at people who not even living, man.
I'm not. Okay.
Yeah, because it was. I don't want to be disrespectful when it first came out. The first time it came out.
Yeah. So we could get to it, man. Lakers, Clippers, somebody else. Who comes out of this bubble on top?
As much as I love the Lakers, that's my secondary team now. When the Wizards are letting me down, I just go to the West. I'm a little concerned without Avery Bradley and Rondo in the mix. But we'll
I think Rondo's coming back though.
I really think we need Avery Bradley for some reason. Not sure why. Maybe it's the defense. Maybe it's that. I don't know yet. But I'm just a little concerned without the full. I feel like we need everybody to be.
Hey, championship pedigree, 3-and-D guy. Like Avery Bradley a big piece. Yeah. You're not getting what Avery Bradley does from Dion Waiters.
Hey, but I love watching Dion Waiters. So I can't lie. I don't know why, but
because he's watching dudes that don't win. Watching dudes that don't win, huh?
It would be like watching Mondre play basketball. Like, like he's, you know what I'm saying? But he can give you that bucket, but it's gonna be slow. And you know what I'm saying? He gonna kind of rock you and give you the little reverse joint.
Hey, I would get mad if all of that wasn't true, but it's 100% true. I can't even get mad at it.
And then he was in a quarantine skating in the house. I'm like, man, I can't wait for him to get on the team.
I'm gonna go. My head is absolutely saying Clippers. In my head, I'm saying that Kawhi is that dude, and he's been trying to let everybody know that he's that dude for a couple of seasons. I'll go back to Kawhi's last year in San Antonio when he was hurt. And I was trying to remind people when they were having the conversation that KD was the second best player in the league next to LeBron, or KD maybe have surpassed LeBron as the number one player. And I was like, yo, let's not forget Kawhi because he's that dude. But Kawhi and Paul Pierce.
And you know, Paul George has been looking good. I've been watching him.
Paul George, I call that man Paul Pierce. My bad, bro.
Yeah,
That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful to Paul George. That's my bad. But no, Kawhi and Paul George, man, I want to pick the Lakers so bad, but damn, that's tough.
I think the Lakers need that home court advantage, but I don't know. I'm still gonna go with them, but I know it's gonna be tough.
I can't act like Anthony Davis ain't Anthony Davis too, but
Anthony
And
Davis,
like J.R. Smith ain't J.R. Smith either.
damn.
Lamar, who you got coming out of all this, man?
I mean,
Be gutsy. Pick a team from the East.
Probably Milwaukee, just because they're the better team that's together. I think it'll be Milwaukee. And you know what, though? Toronto scares me. Like, they could be a team that could actually get back to the finals, which people don't. They sleep on them. Because of this scenario. And then out west, I just think come fourth quarter time, who are you putting on the floor with the Clippers? Because if you have Lou Will on the floor and you have Montrezl Harrell on the floor, they're gonna get exposed in ball screen situations. Like, they're gonna just keep finding the matchup for Lou Will to end up guarding LeBron James all the time. That's what's gonna end up happening. And that's gonna be a bad matchup for them.
All day.
Because can you play Lou Will like on the floor with Pat Bev? Like in the games, you want Lou Will on the floor offensively, but like he hurts you defensively. And Montrezl Harrell is not good in ball screen situations. Not like that. And you got the Morris twin, another guy that's not great. He tends to always turn his head. That's how he get beat on back doors and stuff like that. Like, so those are the things you got to pay attention. Who's going to be on the floor at the end of games for them?
That's a good point.
That's why I picked the Lakers. That's why I picked the Lakers. Just because, I mean, are you going to trust Reggie Jackson? I mean, him or Pat Beverly going to be on the floor, one of the two.
Skip Bell brings up a good point. I really want to cheer for Portland. I want them. They're a team that I want to win. That I want to win badly. I just don't know that they are going to be able to get it done. But Skip Bell saying Portland tough, everybody healthy. What's your thoughts on Portland?
Portland's. I just don't know if. I mean, Melo. Like, I know people love Melo, but like, once again, man, in the game situations, man, like it scares me because you got Dame. Like now, if the big kid comes back for Portland, then it changes them a little bit. But I just don't know defensively are they going to be able to get stops when it counts come playoff time. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. Because you're going to have Melo on the floor. Who is he guard? Who is Melo guard? That's
exactly.
I want to see. We saw different variations of Melo. We saw hoodie Melo, but now we got skinny Melo. I'm praying that maybe skinny Melo is going to be a little better defensively. Maybe be able to move a little bit better since he's not as beefy.
He's playing the 4.
LeBron too.
He's playing the 4, right?
Work out.
He's playing the 4, right?
Yeah, I mean he could. Yeah, I mean like because you're gonna have.
He's playing basketball, huh? Position.
Is Kent Bazemore gonna be on the floor too?
You said who?
Kent Bazemore. He gonna be on the floor too?
We're gonna have him on the floor to stretch it. But the thing about it is he ends up guarding LeBron when he's on the floor, which is always a bad matchup.
Yep.
It's not a good one. Not for them. So that's gonna be interesting. I just like, can Portland turn it on though? I mean, are they gonna be able to turn it on enough that this is a new season? But I mean, they were headed to not to make the playoffs, man. That's just what it was. Yeah. And I don't know how much they like them being the AFC. I mean, they could be dangerous, but I don't know if they're beating one of the top 1, 2, or 3 teams. I just don't think they can do that. But they're scary. I know that. They are scary if they figure it out.
I think they're scary. I think Denver is scary. But I don't know if scary is going to be enough. I think it's too much experience on the Clippers, or too much experience in LA.
But see, here's the thing: when you talk about the Portlands and the Denvers, they might can't beat the Clippers or the Lakers, but they can beat Houston.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not buying that Houston stuff. I'm not buying it.
I'm not either. That's why I said that. I'm
not unless you get a new coach. I'm not buying that. I never bought that. The stats that are
that was your favorite coach, Dre.
Huh?
I thought you said that was your favorite coach.
If I was a player, I never played no defense in my life. So yeah, if I was a player, I don't want to play defense and I want to shoot a lot of threes. I'd love to play for him. I'll stand in the corner and make a few $1 million, and every time that ball,
you'll be PJ Tucker.
I'm letting it fly. I ain't gonna disrespect. PJ Tucker actually plays defense, so I ain't gonna disrespect. But so name somebody else that stands in the corner over there and shoots them shots. I would gladly do that. Not guard anybody. Nobody. Do we get I meant to ask you this one thing, and I know Becky Hammon has been coaching in the Spurs organization. Will we ever see a woman's head coach in the NBA?
It's interesting you say that. There's a coach in the league now who was on a Zoom, and there was a young lady on the Zoom. Actually, it was Carol Lawson. You know, she was with the Celtics at the time, and the head coach thought that she would probably end up being a front office general manager before he thought she would be a coach. You know, not saying it wouldn't be one in their lifetime, but he just thought like it may get to a point that she would probably have a better shot at being in the front office as an assistant GM or GM than being a head coach. Now, does Pop want her to be named head coach just for, you know, like, hey, it's the thing to do, I'm transforming. I don't know. Management ownership got to determine that one. Like, are they ready for that? And it's going to be Tim Duncan's job to lose. I mean, to turn down or not. Like, that's going to be his job. So I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know if he wants to coach because you don't. Why do you come back? You don't come back to be an assistant coach unless you have plans on being a head coach. So,
for sure.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Because Tim Duncan didn't have to come back. I mean, he didn't need to, you know. And I guess he was hanging around a lot. Pop said, hey, man, why don't you try this out? See if you like it. So that's the thing. Oh, yeah.
I want to get into, you know, some of your background and stuff. We talked a lot about ball and a lot of different stuff, but you've been scouting. And are you currently scouting for a specific team, or are you hired by the league as a scout?
No, so I am with, you know, how I started in this is I was under a consultant firm. And it kind of helped me out a little bit because it allowed me to do some other things. And so, you know, my reports go to, you know, teams, and it allows me to do some things that like other guys can't do. So like if you're locked into one team, now you become, you got to do everything that falls under them. And so it allows me to do some other stuff. And that's why I'm able to do it. And I actually learned that from someone else who was doing the same thing. They were in the league and they got out to become a consultant the same way. So that's how it kind of worked out for me that way. So that's what I mean, because that way, like I'm not just handpicked. And I mean, you know, like I want to be able to do some other things, but I still do 80. I did 75 to 80 games last year, which is, you know, still that's what most guys do anyway. And I travel everywhere, not just a region, but I go everywhere. So I was at a lot of the major tournaments as well. You know, it's taken care of. I don't pay for that; someone else pays for that. So that's how it works.
So I'm assuming also that you get to hear a lot of great NBA stories that maybe we don't get a chance to hear when you're at games. One of the greatest stories that I've heard is Jalen Rose, back when his podcast was called The Rose Report, will tell a story about the time that he stole Patrick Ewing's TV. I feel like that's the greatest NBA story I've heard. What's the best NBA story that you can actually say in public?
You know what? I'm sitting there thinking about now. I was fortunate. This is crazy. I worked with two guys, coached with two guys. One, I was at Old Dominion. I worked with Brian Stiff for 3 years, and I worked with Speedy Claxton for 3 years. So I've heard some stories from them that I'm not going to repeat because it's a little different. It's a little different at the level. So, like, we talk about the untold stories and stuff, but there's some stories that I've heard some stories that were pretty interesting. So Speedy was drafted by the Sixers, and he played with Allen Iverson for 2 years. So if you play with Allen, you know it's some stories that come with it.
And Speedy spent some time in Atlanta too.
He spent some time in Atlanta. Yes, he did. So he actually talked about, like, he loved being here. He actually loved being
here.
he did. We had another Philadelphia 76er on our show. We had the thriller from Camilla, Jermaine Jones, on the show. Jermaine Jones came on the show drinking a Corona in a tank top.
No lies.
Kept it all the way real and gave us some game about what it felt like going to the club with AI.
No, and with Michael Jordan, remember?
Facts. Facts. He gave us a Michael
Jordan. I'm gonna say one of the stories, and I know that when this was interesting. Playing the Denver Nuggets. Playing the Denver Nuggets, and Chicago Bulls come in town, and Denver always had like this, strip club they went to after games, and they tried to go one night, and they got to the door, and the guy said, "Sorry, we can't let y'all in tonight." I was like, "What do you mean you can't let us in? Like, we're always up here." "Nah, we can't let y'all in tonight." It's like, come on, man. Like, what are you talking about? Because a lot of those guys go there for food and stuff. Like Lou Will not lying what he talking about.
Right.
But they do. They was like, "Nah, we just can't let you in tonight." Why not? Mr. Jordan bought out the club, so they was like, "Wow, like seriously?" Like, man. So that was one. He couldn't believe it. I mean, you're a home team and you can't even get into the club. Like that's amazing.
I knew that MJ was moving a little different when he got on his full 10-part documentary, dry snitching on everybody else but himself. It was girls in the room, it was drugs in the room, and everybody was going crazy, but not me. Not me. I got out of there.
You know what's funny too, though? Like, I love like when Barkley and them talk about not taking nights off and all this stuff and management, and some of this stuff is funny. But if anyone ever, you talk to Barkley, like, he was at a certain arena one night, and first quarter, he comes in, and I mean he's close to a triple double in like the first quarter and a half, right? And he decides that Charles gets teed up. He's trying to get thrown out of the game, right? So he ends up getting tossed out of the game before halftime. And they go, teams halftime, they go to the locker room. They walk in the locker room. Charles is sitting at the coach's desk with his feet up at the visiting team. Like, they were on the road. He was in the home team's locker room, like sitting with his feet up on the desk, eating pizza. He had ordered pizza, eating, and so the coach walked in and was like, "Yo, what is he doing in here?" So some team manager let him in. He's like, "No, I'm just watching the game, coach. Don't worry about it. You go ahead and do your halftime report. I'm not listening to it at all." To the opposing team, man.
Hey, Barkley, do whatever you want, man. Hey, when you come from the era, you can smoke cigarettes and drink beer in the locker room at halftime, dog. You can do whatever you want. Roddy Devos was back there chain smoking, man, at halftime, bro. Barkley, do whatever you want.
Yeah, a lot of you.
Hey, y'all gonna act like y'all don't know that Tim Floyd story. We're gonna leave that alone.
Oh boy.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead and give it. Go ahead and give it, huh?
Tim Floyd used to get himself thrown out so he can go to the bar, man.
Wow.
And people would see him there.
Yeah, it's a little different, man. It's a little different. That's all I'm gonna say. It's a little different at that level. So, yeah.
Well, Lamar, I wanted to ask you, obviously you got the picture behind you, the Unmasked, which is the stuff you do with assistant coaches. Kind of tell us how that started for you and why you wanted to do it.
What's interesting? It was actually Cam Daly. I was invited to someone was speaking on his. I didn't know any of you guys at the time. One of the guys that mentee of mine, young guy in the business, was speaking on his Zoom HBCU round table, and he invited me to say, "Hey, coach, can you just come and listen to me?" I said, "Fine." So I came to listen, and that was the first time. And then the next week, I got a text message to say, "Hey, Phil Handy gonna be on. Do you want to come on the Zoom?" I go on the Zoom, and I'm listening. I mean, that's when I started going to Zooms, and I'm listening to all these coaches. And Phil Handy spoke, and afterwards, Cam Daly, he was like, I guess it was a special invite only, so he was wondering like, how did certain guys get on? And so he asked like, "Hey, tell us a little bit about yourself," just checking it out. And so, I told him who I was, what I was doing with scouting, former college coach, and you put your information in the chat. And so, as I'm talking, like he asked me a question first, and then someone else it was three or four coaches that I knew in there that I had coached against or been known for a long time. They would ask me questions, and I started giving them the real information. And all of a sudden, my phone is blowing up. Like people are texting me saying, "Man, I love it. You spitting the real facts. This is stuff that coaches need to hear. We always hear the same old story. Like what was their story? What was their path? How hard we got to work, but you don't hear what actually goes on in college athletics." And because I talked about like college coaching is not just wearing a shiny suit on TV. That's not what coaching is. There's so much more to go into it. And so after that, when people start asking me like, "Yo, we need you to come on this more. We need to hear from you." And I actually say, you know what? Assistant coaches, man, a lot of people don't even know about these guys. It's so many good coaches in this business that I've come across for so long, me being one for 16 years. It's guys who've been in this business for 38 years who haven't had an opportunity. Some guys 25, some guys 10 years. They haven't had an opportunity that could be head coaches or are not recognized for how great of a job they've done. I just wanted them to be able to come on and educate these young guys on how the business really is. Talk about how it wasn't easy to get in, or how tough it was. And so Cam kind of, like with him, if I don't meet him and he doesn't ask me those questions, it doesn't happen. And so that's what I wanted to do, kind of educate, get guys a chance to get some stuff off their chest that they never even talk about. Because we walk in.
We got you, Coach. Go ahead.
You walking some along and you don't even get a chance to. Sometimes you don't even speak to guys. You don't even know these guys. So it was an opportunity for guys to other guys to hear other guys' stories. It was, one thing I know about people is they love to talk and they love to listen. So that's how it came about. Like, trying to educate these younger guys, trying to connect these assistant coaches who don't even talk to each other, who see each other all the time in the same recruiting circles. And so, I knew how to kind of accomplish some things when I started getting text messages or calls from guys who had been on the show that wanted to reach out to another guy just to have a conversation with him because they never had a conversation with him, or they never, "Oh man, his story was great," and things of that nature. So that's how it came about. Like just going on Zooms, listening to guys, listening to these stories, saying, and when guys would say stuff, I'd be like, "Man, why don't y'all tell these guys the truth?" Like, you got all these young guys who think like they can go from, they can come into business, make $100,000, $150,000 right away. That's not happening. Or, talk about when you first got the job, because there's no handbook in college coaching. Like it's similar to like when you get hired as a car salesman, like nobody tells you what to do. You got to figure out how to sell cars, get it done. Same thing in college basketball, man. No handbook. They day one, they throw you in the fire and say, all right, you start your job, go to work. So that's kind of how it started. Like, I give Cam Daly a lot of credit for just him asking that question that first day and then listening to other Zooms. And I'm probably on, maybe 2 Zooms a night sometimes, probably 4 or 5 times a week, and to listen to some of these assistant coaches. And that's how a lot of times I get some of these assistant coaches on my show, because I'm like, man, he's good. Like, he needs to be heard. So that's how Unmasked started. And since then I've had like agents to reach out, talk about how good it is. I've had a couple of TV networks that kind of reach out and say, hey, keep building your content. This is something we want to do, and look at possibly doing a TV show off of it. So it was good for me, and I love it. It's kind of therapeutic. Hear some of these stories, man, is amazing. And I got to get to know some guys even better. So that's how Unmasked came about.
Definitely dope. You get some stories out of coaches that people don't normally get. So I had to go back after listening to a few episodes and start texting guys like, yo, you did what? like yeah, it was coaches, oh man, I called the wrong person on the recruiting call. Like I did this, man, it was some wild stories. So very, very good, man. I would suggest anybody go check it out.
And the thing about it too, man, is like people go and watch the show, and then when they come on the show, they have no idea like when the questions are coming, and it's like the first time they've ever heard it. And so like, because you don't know what's coming, like you can watch it 100 times, but it's like until you got to answer that question. And I like it because everything is authentic. You can't, like, guys be like, yo, can you send me the questions? No, I'm not sending you the questions. You come and answer the questions and you figure it out, and you're gonna get, and you get real. It's like us sitting here talking, chopping it up. It's like, I'm gonna say what I feel more so than having to think about it and saying what you want to hear. Now, I want you to tell me how you actually feel, and that's what happens. Like, guys end up sometimes revealing more information than I even thought they would reveal. Like, I'm like, you don't have to name names, you don't have to name schools. But then guys get to talking. It's like, you hear stories from, like I didn't, I grew up with no family, or it's just the stories you hear. I'm blown away. And sometimes I'm laughing. You can't see me, and I turn it off because I gotta laugh at some of it because it's hilarious. And I wouldn't have gotten to know those guys that way if I'm not doing this. And like I've done 80 interviews. And I've released 19 of them, and I got another 10 set up for next week. And it's like guys are reaching out to me saying, "Hey, man, I knew it became different when I was getting text messages or calls from guys that I hadn't talked to in 4 or 5 years, and they were like, they were like, hey, man, what's up? What's going on? How you doing? Just checking on you during the pandemic." And I'm like, okay. And then the next question was, hey, man, I love, they'd be like, I love that show, man. I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to get you on the show, So I knew it was different. I knew it was different then. So, yeah.
It's definitely rocking, bro. Like, I love I think the other thing that I pull out of it is not just the funny stories or the entertaining stories of guys messing up. You get to hear the hustle and the grind of some of these guys of what they had to do to get on. And I think that is inspiring, too, of, yeah, man, I used to sleep in my car. Yeah, man, I used to, you know what I'm saying?
and Dre,
first job unpaid, like. Right.
And Dre, if you even add to it, just the differences of how everybody started and got to where they are now. Like, you may have a guy that somehow started at a mid-major or a high major, for whatever the case, or the guy that had to go D2 and, GA and work his way all the way up to where he was. I think that's some of the. It goes back to where he said how he started it. Most people look at college coaching and all they see is, oh, they on ESPN. I see that dude in a nice suit on the sideline, or I see him when he walk in the gym doing Peach Jam, and he looks good. That's all they see.
A lot of unpaid JUCO positions.
A lot of them. Look,
paying off for
I had a guy was like, he was a high major Division I football player. Like he hasn't been out yet, but like he's coaching in the SEC for basketball. And so like that's something like you don't see. Like he was a high major Division I football defensive back and was good. Started from day one as a freshman. He's coaching high major basketball. Like it's unbelievable.
It's a crazy business. Like anything I've seen.
Yeah. You know,
Crazy.
and I mean, even when he took
There's no playbook. There's no playbook.
No, it's none. It's none. You know, like, you know, guys don't realize, you know, it's tough to get in. Like it's tough to get in, but if you can get in, the really good guys stay around. They can keep jobs because they don't like as long as you know you keep your nose clean and you do a great job of recruiting, like you see like guys been in this business for so long. I mean, Kevin Clark was a good friend of mine, 38 years in this business. Like I was like, he's 62 years old, 38 years in this business. Or like I've had like Bruiser Flint, who was a head coach for 20 of his 32 years as a college coach. And like, okay, why doesn't Bruiser Flint have a job again? Why doesn't Carl Hobbs have a job again? They were successful coaches. Why doesn't, you know, like Bill Courtney at Miami, or you know, like Anthony Solomon, who's at Dayton, who's like the number one team in the country one time. He's been at Notre Dame. George, like, why doesn't he have a job? And so a lot of that stuff you tackle, or like, why does some of these young guys who I'm listening to, like, these guys could be head coaches, and they should be head coaches, but it's just the opportunity, man. It's tough, but that's what it was about. Like, I know I was an assistant for a long time. You know, sometimes you always say, well, I was a college coach and it was all about the kids, helping the kids. Like, now I feel like I'm helping, you know, young assistants. Like, you know, Huff has been on it, like, you know, Troutman, who, you know, had been on, and he was a guy who was going to Mississippi State, you know, as a graduate assistant. And I got a chance to meet guys like him, you know, Coach, can you help me in any way? I mean, that's what, and then when he gets to the position, Coach, I want to thank for all the help you did. But that's the stuff that I enjoy. I'm not getting the money out of it, but those are the things you love right there. They hear from those young guys. You know, that's what it's about.
Dre, I'm gonna drop a nugget for you. He talked about Carl Hobbs, who you may not know, used to be at George Washington. You know Cameron Hobbs, who's at Dutchtown, who just graduated?
Yeah.
That's his nephew.
Okay. We're gonna put it together. I want to end by asking this question, man. So you've been around a lot of basketball. You've seen a lot from different sides of it, from a media standpoint, from scouting to coaching, everything that you've been involved with. What is the most fun that you've had being around basketball?
You know what? I go back to it when I actually coached high school basketball, right? I was coaching public school basketball, state of Maryland. 4A here is the highest level. And to walk into a situation where it was, and I was there for 6 years, but those 6 years was probably the best run that most programs have had for a public school in the Washington, D.C. area. Which, I mean, you already battling the Mathers, the Gonzagas, the Paul VI, these private schools, but to keep your kids that should go to your school in your backyard, that's in your zone, and not let them go to private school, that was fun. Like going to the Boys and Girls Club, watching these kids when they were in the 7th and 8th grade, making sure they came to your high school, and then seeing them develop from 9th graders, to them graduating, and then now still having conversations with them, like seeing 18 guys from a Division I program, from a public school program, go on to play Division I basketball, an NBA lottery pick, win 2 state championships, lose 2 state championships, but then the 2 years that I didn't even go to the state championship, we're not ranked 12th and 15th in the country. So, like, to have a 6-year run like that, that was the most fun time. Probably is the most, like, it wasn't a business, that was talking about from 97 to 03. It was just different then. And you get in college, man, it becomes so business-like, so, like you're constantly on the grind. Like in high school, if you're coaching, you're going home at night, right? And you don't have to worry about anything. Like, it's just what it is. But when you're in college, you're working 12, 15-hour days. You got to worry about, what happens when you leave campus. What is that kid doing? What is he doing, when he go out at night? Are you worried about getting a call at 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, which has happened?
Yep.
You always, like your phone, like you're 24/7 on the job. Like if you're not recruiting, you're scouting. You're doing scouting reports. If you're not scouting, you're on the phone all the time, constantly. You're traveling. You got to, you're worried about your team getting better. So it's like 24/7. I don't say it's 355, 360 days out the year. You're so much away from your family. So it becomes a grind. It becomes a business. You love it. And I love the players. Because just to see them, because you're going to be the most important figure in their life from 18 to 22 years old. Like, their parents did a great job of rearing them. I always say rearing. But my job is to make them going from young adult to a grown man. Because that's when they're going to make the biggest decisions of their lives. Once they're finished with school, a lot of times, 80% of the time, they're going to live where they went to school. This happens. You're going to find your wife there. You're going to end up living there. Like, that's what usually happens. So, those kids, man, become a part of your family, and you want to see them succeed, and then you're happy when it comes to that. But high school basketball, that was the best fun I had, coaching kids and see them go on and be successful, not just at the collegiate level, but a lot of them to go and not just make money professionally basketball wise, but to see them be successful doing other things in the business world as well.
Hey, Coach, I was always taught to in practice on a make. I feel like we just made a couple in a row. It's our time, man. So, hey, that is our show for tonight. Hey, we are broadcasting live for the first time ever on Twitch, and we have viewers who are watching right now on Twitch. Love you guys. We're gonna get
you got that image? You got that image for me?
Yep.
I know you want to end on the make, but this is another make, man. This is another make.
Yep. Hold on. Hey, man, y'all keep me on my toes, if nothing else. I will say that. Watch how fast I just, you know what I'm saying? Oh, wait. Hey, I just found a new feature in here that I didn't even realize was here. Holla at your boy. We'll talk about that later. Here we go. Go ahead, Huff.
Hey, 2 sides to the game, Georgia edition. Shout out to the Rising Star for that. Bridging the gap between AAU and high school and college coaches. Next Wednesday, August 5th, 7 p.m., Georgia Minority Coaches Association. We need you there. Me and Lamar been sitting down talking about who's got to be there. Julio, the General Dez, Norm Parker, Sherman White, Courtney Goldwire. We need you there. We've already got college coaches lined up. Tom Crean, Rob Lanier, Alex Ireland, the new head coach at Clayton State, Rico Dawson, head coach at Central Georgia Tech JUCO, Dan McDonald of Rivals and Lake Point. We got people there to really have a good conversation. Let's get this thing going. Let's talk the talk and walk the walk. This has been going on. This will be the 4th one. They've done Florida. They've done New York, New Jersey. They've done who's the one I'm missing, Lamar? Florida,
Louisiana.
New York. They did Louisiana with Ryan Price. So this is the 4th one. We know how we do it here in Georgia, so I'll just leave it there.
Hey man, I just want to say a special shout out to, I want to make sure all of our friends and partners in South Georgia, please attend this call. All of our friends and partners in Middle Georgia, please attend this call. Savannah, Augusta, we need you guys on this thing. Let's be fully prepared and be a united front from the AAU side of the fence on this call. So
it's interactive. I mean, we're gonna be calling people out if you're on there to the voice what you feel, what needs to be done to bridge this gap.
Voice need to be heard from all over the state. It's Georgia versus everybody. That's our show for tonight, man. We love you. Again, hey, Twitch users, we're getting up to speed on the platform. I promise we'll figure it out. This is our first run, but appreciate y'all for joining us. It's the Love of the Game podcast, man. We'll see y'all Sunday night, 5 o'clock. We're back in the building. It's Love of the Game. We out.